Today's February 13th. The Pirates spring training is underway, and just as you'd have it, the key acquisition is already on the shelf. You just can't make this stuff up. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh. His name is Jake. It's baseball season.
Sure is, bro. It's exciting. Looking forward to what the new season has in store, and get a fresh look at all the new. Well, the guys on the team.
The same guys.
I was gonna say new, but the new ones are in cast.
Yeah. This is just crazy. And so there it is. Okay. I've got the Boylan's vanilla cream, the old reliable right now.
You guys were killing me with some of those there before we got started.
Yeah. The chat's already winning tonight. We've had some video issues, and this is weird because we had them, I think, the last time that you and I were on here. And then I had Gary on and we had no problems, or at least if we did, he just didn't say anything. At least the one that you're dealing with, right? But yeah. I also everything worked fine in the back of the computer. And now I have to bring out this other thing, which I think is what's causing the other issue. So that's where I'm at. Anyway, it's great. Every time you start getting the videos and the pictures and spring training's underway, it's all those things. It's all the cliches. But here's the thing about the cliches, they're just dead on true. The pop of the mitt, the crack of the bat, all those romantic things that we say about spring training when it comes along.
Yeah.
They're still and it's that whole thing. It's the whole, okay, are we done with this? Do we have to say these things? Do you have to say he's coming in great shape?
Yeah. You just do.
You just do.
But whether we want to admit it or not, we need to hear that.
Well, especially us, right?
Yeah. It's fans of baseball in general, you want to hear how good people feel to be back. You like to hear how good people look, how smooth they feel swinging the bat, how free and easy their release is from the mound, all the things, right? Just all the things. It's just fun to hear, man. It's fun to watch. It's fun to listen to, see. It's just great. I love this time of year.
Yeah. And so, Jake, I know you're speaking from this, as I am. We're saying this as baseball fans.
Mm-hmm.
Without question, and I don't want this to get because I understand how we feel. That this is it. Jim says it right here. Nice. I'm glad you pulled that up. It's how they scam me into this every year. And it is, because that's how it feels as a Pirates fan, specifically. Yeah. But more broad, the baseball fan in me is super excited, right? And then that whole Pirates thing, this would be easier to get even more excited about it if you were excited about your team too. Yeah. And instead, we're interested in our team. You know what I mean? We're let's see what Nick Gonzalez has in store for us this year, which, by the way, no one's talking about.
Which, by the way, is nobody talking about his mustache right now?
No.
That thing's dirty. That thing is in thick. I remember telling my mom was like, she loves his mustache, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it's a little weak. It ain't weak this year. It's on point.
All right. So aside from that, let's get into the deal here, because Spencer Horwitz shows up in a cast. As we learn a little bit more, right? In like a very thin, small cast, just kind of like a half cast, half brace, from what I'm understanding. And there's a surgery that happened because of an injured wrist, and the way that it all came out. This is like, I always want to get in behind a mic as soon as I start hearing these things, and I want to react, right? But it seems like this stuff always happens days before we record.
Yeah.
Days before we go live, and you have an opportunity to kind of see how the stuff unfolds and see how, okay, what we thought this was, maybe that's not what it is. So let's get the things out of the way. This is a new injury. Okay? This is not the same thing that they knew about at the time of the trade. The thing they knew about at the time of the trade was something that they were not worried about, that they thought they could do that. Now, we're going to get all the way through it, okay? I got the deals here, right? Sherrington was very clear about the fact that this was a new development, a new injury. The same exact doctor saw him in Toronto that is seeing him now. He did not see what he saw this time. This was something new. So let's make sure that we understand that, like, this isn't a bunch of morons who have no idea what they're doing and didn't do what every single major league team does when they go through that process. It's not like they're just completely absent of like knowledge of what everyone else does. Listen, this front office, this ownership, front office, the whole organization, there's enough problems. We don't have to fabricate new ones. They got enough problems as it is. We don't have to then say, well, they can't read, so we have to read things to them. Like, that's not true, right?
Right.
And so I think there's a little bit here that we kind of get excited and we take things a little too far, and understandably so. I'm not blaming, like, I'm saying we do this. I'm not saying you guys do this, right? We all do it, and we fabricate these things where we stretch maybe what's possible to be true here. It's a new injury. It's not related to the other one. We'll bring up more questions about that later, Jake. However, we also have the same. So we got the same doctor. We've got all the information of the medicals. We've got this word chronic that was put out there, and yet Ben Sherrington has yet to use that word, but we're using it as in absolute truth. And I'm not even sure that chronic is the thing that actually is part of this, except for the Pirates Twitter handle put chronic out there, and now we won't let go of it. I'm not saying it's not chronic, but I also am trying to listen to the people who actually are communicating, and they're not using that word. Matter of fact, specifically avoiding that word. Now, we know how Sherrington is too, so you have to have this like code. Like, you've got to find, three different books that are this thick on how to read Ben Sherrington. Or no, let's rephrase that. How to read MLB GM talk, right? Yeah. This isn't exclusive to Ben Sherrington. This is how the GMs talk. And everything's a secret, and everything should be a secret. If anything, this is a good quality that Ben Sherrington has, one of few, according to what we all think. But he's very good at keeping things under wraps and keeping things a secret. That's what GMs are supposed to do, guys. It's supposed to stay secret. It's supposed to not leak. The agents leak. GMs don't want things out there.
Yeah.
So if anything, that's like, one of the only things he does well. Or maybe there's just nothing to keep secret, right? Maybe it's like, oh yeah, we're working on things, and like, you're not. That's why nothing ever leaks. Anyway, I'm trying to sort this out and make sure that we understand what we know to be true And then we can speculate on other things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we know this is a new injury. We've heard things about the extender tendon that goes to your thumb, which, by the way, I don't really know. I've tried looking this up. I think maybe Luis Ariz had this issue. It's possible Francisco Alvarez last year, where they were actually talking about a thumb tendon, which might actually be the same thing that this is, right? Mm-hmm. And so there is possibly some history of this. I know that the Francisco Alvarez one specifically they were calling it thumb, a tendon in the thumb. And they were also they gave it the same 6 to 8 weeks. They had to have surgery right away. And it seems like this is something that might even have been injured. Now we'll find out new stuff, right? This is just from me looking crap up about the extender tendon thing. That actually happens a lot when you hit your thumb. Like when something hits, like Francisco Alvarez hurt his sliding into second base.
Yeah.
Right. And Luis Ariz hurt. I don't remember how he hurt his, but he also had the same thing. And he said that it bothered him the last half of 2024. And if you remember, his June and July were awful because he was dealing with this. And as soon as we got out of the season, he had surgery on it. So like he kind of played through something, which also makes me think, well, geez, was that what Horwitz was playing through? And then, right. Okay, so once again, we'll get there. There's so many questions about this. What did you know? We understand that there was things communicated to them by the same guy who did this procedure. He's now calling this a new thing. The same guy. Mm-hmm. Right? If this isn't a new thing, the problem here probably isn't with the Pirates. It's about somebody lying about the medicals.
Yeah.
So if you want to start a conspiracy, I'd love to hear it, first off, because I think those are a lot of fun. But start the conspiracy that's either Dr. Graham was paid off by Toronto or Cleveland, or the player himself, or whatever, like somewhere along the line. But it does seem like if this is that injury that happened with Alvarez specifically, then it is it's an injury that could have happened. You know what I mean? Just, it would have to be something that was specific, and they decided to get it done. So I don't know, Jake, where do you want to go with this? There's so many ways we could go with this. Where do you want to go? Do you want to talk about, let's not talk about the fallout yet. Let's keep it Horwitz. But
I mean, you start off by thinking about, you alluded to something he could have been, even though it's not this exact injury, if it's not the same injury, right? But it's still something that with his hands, with his wrists, with this, it's the same area, right? So if he's struggling with that, battling those issues, does he have more power in the tank? You know what I mean? Like if he was dealing with the issues and the issues go away from the,
right. Well, but the problem, so that's the first question, right? Are the issues that he was having before related to this at all? And if they're not, will this surgery also fix those things? And are they or are they not chronic? Is the other thing, because chronic doesn't go away, Jake.
Right. Yeah, well, the way I understood what Sherrington was saying is, yes, it will fix both.
Really?
That's kind of what I was taking away from it. Like, it's a different injury, but I feel like that could have been. It's like when you have a hurt something in your leg, say, and then you're overcompensating and you hurt another part of your leg. It's a new injury, but it's a result of the first one, or
compensation, right? Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So is it something like that?
Right.
Where sure, it's a quote unquote new injury, but it's kind of related.
Right.
So by fixing this, did they go, they fixed the other issue at the same time? Because they already had, they were already in there. they're a little vague on some of this stuff, but to me, it sounded like with the surgery, it could alleviate all of the issues.
Right. Okay. That's a good point. Hadn't thought of that. The thing is like, the only reason I still was left with that question is because in that whole like 12-minute interview, Sherrington was like, he wasn't beating around a bush on a lot of things. It felt more like damage control because of the word chronic was out there, when I don't think that maybe it applies. Maybe it still does. Like I said, that's not part of what we know. But he was so intentional about speaking directly about certain things, which is not typical Ben Sherrington talk. And so when he didn't address it directly, I left it open for, I'm going to ask that then, because he was so direct about so many things that what he wasn't direct about, I still have questions. You know what I'm saying? Why wasn't he also direct about that? Maybe it wasn't directly asked. Either way, it was a question, like anything that he didn't directly address. Like, for one, this is a new injury. I think that is very clear in this. If you watch him talk and watch the whole thing, there's no question this is a new thing. This is not related to, or this is not the same injury. I'm not going to say it's not related, because we don't know that it's not really related. You know what I mean? It could be, like you're saying, whether it's compensation, but if it's an injury like that you hit, then that would be something different. And then you're gonna get that conspiracy look on your face again and say, it's quite a coincidence that it was the same hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as far as power, I will say this, Jake. He's a left-handed hitter. The left hand to me will generate more of that power than the right hand. So if the right hand's bugging him, okay, this is obviously completely different, right? But we talk from personal experience. I had this thing on my hand that I had surgery our off season, right? I had surgery because I had this thing on my hand. It was like a bone deal, and anytime I swung a bat, I also swing left-handed. Anytime I swung, man, my wrist, but mostly my hand, but it's so far back. I kept saying my wrist hurts. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was, like 10 swings in, and I'm done. Like, it is pain. And as soon as I'm in that pain, I can play through it, but like my power is gone. I don't even have a power. And it was, which maybe is similar to Horwitz here. Not a ton of power, but all of what I had was gone.
Yeah.
Even if you can swing through it for one swing, like during a game, I can swing through it. During batting practice, once I'm in mid-season, it's 5 swings and I'm basically done.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say is, when it hurt, do you know what I could do? Switch around and hit right-handed with no problem. I could hit right-handed with no problem. And if we got into a day, like in a game where it was hurting, I'd just I'm a right-handed thrower, right? We're playing slow pitch softball, which means I can also hit right-handed. I grew up hitting right-handed. It wasn't until I was 11 till I realized I was actually better from the left side. So, you know what I mean? So that I have a lot of experience hitting right-handed, and through baseball, I would switch hit. You just barely ever faced a lefty. So, your left-handed swing gets more refined. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I would just hit right-handed and it wouldn't hurt anymore. So I think, as far as Horwitz playing through a wrist hurting on his right hand as a left-handed hitter, I feel like you can just play through that. And what we saw from Luis Ariz, I believe that was his left wrist. So quite different when he was like terrible in June and July and skipped the All-Star game because of it and all this stuff. And it was like, it was terrible. So it's kind of one of those things. Chat's killing me, man. You guys are awesome. it's one thing to say like you can play through something if it's in your right hand than it is to say I can play through it if it's in my left hand as a left-handed hitter. So that's why I can see him just playing through whatever issue he had.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you probably wouldn't be all that worried about it. Plus, Jake, what he did at the major league level power-wise is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad.
I mean, 12 homers in 97 games, I think, is more than what you would think. I mean, you're talking about, a guy who, if he takes another step forward, is a 15 to 18 home run guy without really stretching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If all of that goes the same. So, as far as, I'm not saying a guy's a 30 homer guy, but he's not going to hit us 10 home runs if he hit 12 in just 97 games. So you add a few more games to that, you're going to add a few more home runs. So I don't know.
I could see him hitting 20.
Except not now because he's going to miss a month.
Well, right.
So,
right.
So I guess that's the next thing, right? And if it is something that lingers a little bit longer, that might change even a little bit more, right? You might have to wait for 2026 until you start to see that power show up.
Right. We won't get a good idea of when he'll return until we're about a month from now. Right, because we're about a week and a half, 2 weeks into his 6 to 8 weeks. Once we get closer to that 6, we'll be getting a better idea of, okay, it's going to be closer to that 8 week, or it could be, 10 before he's in a Pirates uniform playing Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I would think a little bit longer than that. I think you're not in a hurry. If this was a 1-year deal, I think you're in a little bit of a hurry. You're not going to be in a hurry. The Pirates are not in a place where they feel like, at least I wouldn't think, where they feel like he has to be there before May 1st. He could be there before May 1st, but he doesn't have to be. So,
I mean, unless we make a move.
I don't know. I mean, it's a month. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a month. You deal with that. So let's go back. Let's go back a little bit because I think it's worth addressing that if we talk about, let's go all the way back to the trade. There were some issues. First off, I think there's different beliefs on what they gave up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you're at. Personally, I felt like it was a lot. I think a lot of people thought it was a lot. I've seen the word haul get thrown out there. I don't think it was a haul to get this guy. Like, this wasn't like a Garrett Crochet package. You know what I'm saying? Like, This is, it was a fair amount. It was, I think, maybe a little too much. I think maybe if Kennedy's dropped out of that, I'm okay with the trade. That's kind of how I feel. Like, if we could have kept Kennedy and just sent Ortiz and this other guy, I think I would have been like, that seems reasonable to me. But whatever, you have to do what you have to do, I guess, if you're trying to be aggressive, which if they were, that was the only time this offseason that they were aggressive.
I mean, like, I don't know that it was too much. I mean,
okay.
You gave him a back end of the rotation major league starter.
Or a reliever or a long relief guy. We don't
or
quite
a long relief guy. I think he'll be in their rotation. I think he'll be like 4 or 5 in the rotation.
Okay.
But you give a back end of the rotation type pitcher for a back end of the middle of a lineup first baseman. You see what I'm saying? I think that's fair. I think the extras you throw in, I think was just, I don't know. I don't think it was too much. I don't think it was a crazy amount.
Okay. So, like I said, difference of opinions on what you gave up for him. If you knew that there were issues that you felt were good enough, that you would deal with these, right? And they led to this. Actually, Dave White says he gave up way too much for Horwitz if he was completely healthy. So, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole different everything here. So, even if you did your due diligence, let's talk about the fact that you traded for a guy and gave up 3 pitchers for a guy who had a wrist problem. So, like I said, even if this has nothing to do with it, we still have to talk about this. Like,
Right.
how did we not change our package? How did we not say, well, listen, I don't know about Michael Kennedy because of this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, like, how do we not do something there? Or is there any kind of protection you can build in there to say, like, okay, but possibly a player to be named later if he's injured? If he's injured, we get another player or something. I don't know. I don't even know what you can do in this situation. Sherrington doesn't feel like there was anything that they needed to do. They accepted what was done here. That's where I'm saying, like, maybe I take issue with that. Maybe there should have been a little more, like, you know what I mean? But the only thing I can think about, Jake, is if this was Josh Naylor and he had a wrist issue, I'd be like, no, man, we're not doing this.
Right.
But the fact that Horwitz has 5 years of control, if you felt like I could miss a month of this guy and we'd be good, like, because we have 4 more years, like this, the rest of this year and 4 more after that, I can actually get behind that. This is a guy with a lot of control. So I can actually see where you would be willing to take on something that might bother him for right now, but you can get it fixed. If that is the case, I don't know why we didn't get this addressed at the time of the trade. Hey, we're still going to make this trade, but we're going to get another MRI and possibly do surgery long before spring. He would have been ready for spring training if that was the case.
Yeah, but I think they didn't feel like the issue was worth the surgery. I mean, obviously, the same doctor saw him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he didn't see any signs of any need to jump in and fix anything. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of it for me. There's a lot of questions. I don't think that they've been stupid in this, but I also think that, like, there's just still a lot of questions about this deal in particular. This guy's not an automatic, man. He's played 97 major league games. Right. And I feel like there's a lot of, like, okay, well, 97 major league games, but he also has a little bit of a wrist problem and we gave away 3 pitchers for him. I just feel like there's so much there that is on the table that I just can't see where 2 and 2 equals 4 here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Overall, are you worried about it? Or let's say this. We're all a little bit worried about it. What's your level? 1 to 5. 5 meaning this guy's never going to play a game. 1 meaning no, it's no problem at all. Where do you sit there? You closer to the 1 or are you closer to the 5?
I'm at 2.5. It's probably, really it is somewhere in the middle. I hate to play it safe, but like, sure, you're a little worried. It's a wrist issue, and that could be devastating for a hitter if it's something that sticks around and lingers. But at the same time, I have to to a degree. I have to say, you know what? The doctor knows a little bit more about this issue than I do. And he says he fixed it and it's going to be fine.
We don't know
I got to
anything.
trust that. But at the same time, it's the Pirates. And a lot of times it's just, you trust them and they let you down. Yeah. And I get it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm at a 2.
Yeah,
I
so
think
there
a
are
lot
some
of it is the 4 extra. Like, we got him for 5 years, so
right.
There's some control there. There's some time. Whether or not am I worried about our season if he doesn't come back strong this year? That's different. That's a whole nother topic, right?
Right.
But just as Horwitz in general, I think he's young enough yet. I think he'll be able to bounce back. I think.
Yeah. So. Earlier while we were talking here, Bucko Mike said the tendon must not have been ruptured. That's a 12 to 15 week recovery time. And so because when you're looking this kind of stuff up, I see, some people it might take longer than other people. It might be 12 weeks. It might be what I saw was it might be 12 weeks. It could be that this person will never get full range. Or 12-week recovery time, but full range of motion takes longer than that. This doesn't seem like that, right? So this has me closer to a 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned about the long-term effect, right? I'm concerned about that word chronic, whether it actually exists in this scenario or not. I'm concerned about that. If it's chronic, that's the thing. But what makes me less concerned is 6 to 8 weeks. Everything seems to have gone well. And it's his right wrist. So those are the two things to me that says, I think we might be okay here. They might be completely transparent in this. Like they might actually be, in the right here. I question that a lot, right? Doug says, hate to say it, but the Sherrington trust factor is low, right?
That's fair.
And that's totally there, right? Jim says, Bucko Mike's probably just making stuff up. I looked this up too. I saw the 12 weeks. I saw never get full range of motion in what I looked up as well. So I probably wouldn't have just went straight there, but I have seen that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just from like the internet has everything out there, right? We can look this kind of stuff up.
Yeah.
But what we know is what we know from Ben Sherrington's mouth. And just like Doug says, like we don't have a lot there. We have, you know me, I like to give people benefit of the doubt. So until I see something different, I'm going to have to operate from that understanding. And I think that that's fine to do so. However, I have questions, I have concerns, and we're going to see how this thing plays out because this seems to be a guy who wasn't a slam dunk was brought in for not a slam dunk trade package, right? Not a slam dunk trade package, but a fair one, a decent one. Like they got good players in that.
Yeah.
So I have concerns here. And the fact that, Jake, this was it. This was our move. Oh, there's still another one out there we're hearing. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if you're getting, what are you going to do? You've already traded your pitcher. You're not going to trade another one. We're not getting Kerstad. You're going to have to send Jared Jones over to get that. We can't do that. I mean, I would at least hope not. We've already traded from our strength. You can't do more.
Yeah. I mean, take a page out of the Marlins book. You can't trade them all.
Well,
they traded,
let's leave the Marlins book in Miami because they had every single pitcher injured. Okay.
But that's
what
we're
not
saying,
following anything that they're doing down there.
Exactly. That's my exact point. Like
kind of it is, but I'm saying whatever they're doing to develop them is hurting them. I'm saying that's if every
they
single
traded from a surplus and then they had injuries, so they had no. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I get what you're saying, but they also had all of them injured at the same time.
Yeah, that's a different story.
So I don't think that you can expect to get the Marlins treatment with your starting rotation, but just like any other team, you have one or two go down, and you got to have 9 pitchers.
Yeah, I mean
that's the way I look at it. You got to have 9.
Look what happened to the Dodgers. They were pitching bullpen games in the postseason because they had so many pitchers get hurt.
Yeah.
You can trade from your surplus. You can't go crazy and trade them all. You're going to need them.
Yeah, I'm going to have a hard time feeling bad for the Dodgers too. Right?
It's still
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of things that we are concerned about. There's a lot of things that we have questions about. I'm not going to jump to I know I went on my little rampage. I'm not going to jump to conclusion that we have a bunch of idiots running our team. However, all of the questions, if they're questions, are totally legitimate. We just can't go out and assume that, like, just so many conversations that I had were, well, they knew about this. And I'm like, no, like, if you watch what he says, they're different. It's a new injury. I just wanted to make sure that we spoke that on this show because I don't want to pile on where it shouldn't be piled on because I know that there's plenty of places we could.
Yeah.
right? This team doesn't need help. And looking iffy and having questions asked about them. So,
Right.
all right. But also, if you want to talk conspiracy with me about doctors lying and stuff, yeah, I'll listen.
I promise you, doctors would never lie.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
All right. No matter how much money's offered by the people who are making the trades. All right. I do want to touch one thing here. Before we jump into who's going to play first, and I don't even know where we are on time because I don't know what the heck time we started. I know that we were late.
About 20 after.
Okay, 20 after. We should probably keep it moving then.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see something about Luis Ortiz, and I wanted to use that to kind of push into the next thing. And I always seem like I can't find. Here it is, Rob. I've seen at least report that it seemed Pirates pitchers and catchers didn't seem thrilled about Luis Ortiz being gone and coming out of spring training. So this is something about spring training that I think is worth talking about too. These players, no matter what team they're on, and I know it's hard for us to believe because fans have a totally different thought process on this. But the players that are in that clubhouse and on that field, they believe in what you're doing. They buy in. They think that the guys around them are good enough. Like they believe that. I'm sure that there's every single player on the Pirates team. I'm sure they believe that there could have been moves to put them in a different place than they are right now. There could have been things they could have done to add and get better pieces that they would have been a little bit more pumped about, right?
Yeah.
But even with that said, they believe in that. You're with these guys all year. You're going to like the guys.
Right.
So it is not a surprise that they're bummed about Luis Ortiz. They're bummed about just about anyone that gets traded away or leaves for free agency. Like that's just the way it is. That's a baseball. I mean, it's a whole summer. We didn't play with guys that long when we were playing, and it's still, you didn't like to see the seniors go. You didn't like to see a guy move away. It felt different when there was a guy that wasn't on your team anymore. Maybe your summer league, it was a different guy. Of course, ours, Legion most of the time, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But like you have these things where you feel good about these guys, and we didn't even spend as much time as these guys do with each other. Right? We're still going home. We're still, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of differences in there. But these guys buy in because players buy into their peers and the guys that they're around.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why, and we're not going to go down this road, Jake, but that's another reason why a Paul Skeens extension isn't absurd. It isn't so ridiculous that it'll never happen. I don't want to go down that path right now, but like he's not sitting there rolling his eyes at his teammates and thinking that his team stinks.
Right.
He's just not. He thinks they're awesome. He's very good friends with those guys in the pitching staff. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't Paul Skeens looking at this team saying, "Oh, this management's a joke. I'm never taking money from these guys." I'm telling you right now that if they offer a starting pitcher, we just talked about how starting pitchers are hurt all the time, guaranteed money to get him to age 29 or 30, and they put that kind of money in front of you, you're kind of silly not to take it.
Right.
And to have financial flexibility when you know that 2027 may not even happen, but give yourself financial flexibility before that. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. There's a chance he doesn't. And there's a chance they lowball it. But there is also a chance that something gets worked out. So that's all I'm saying is it's not like he's not rolling his eyes at his teammates. Like he believes in this thing too.
Right.
They all do. So yeah, Luis Ortiz, it stinks to see him go, especially for those guys that spent a whole summer with him last year. So
yeah, I guess you kind of hope you hear, and you're not going to at this point. You're just not. You hope to hear the second part of that too. Stinks to see Ortiz gone, but it is nice to have Horwitz in camp. And we're never going to get that
No.
because of the wrist. We're just not going to get that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe some different trades that would be, you know what I mean? If he would have been a bona fide guy, I think there could have been a lot of guys saying, yeah, but to have a guy of this caliber coming in a position that we really needed, you know what I mean? Like you might get that thing, but yeah, I understand. It's a different circumstance, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Even if it was Horwitz, but Horwitz healthy, you would hear that. You would hear it because that's their new guy.
Sure. Yeah, it's possible. With that said, Jake, they also believe in Jared Triolo and Billy Cook and some of these other guys. Who plays first base?
Well, I tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Endy. It's not going to be Reynolds. Sherrington has literally specifically, go back to the thing you were talking about, he specifically named them two and said they want Endy focused on catching and they want Reynolds focused on right field. Period.
Okay, so speculate, though, as a fan, because right now, that can absolutely be their plans. But are they not going to change their plans if things go different? Let's say Bart, Henry, and Endy are all hitting, and Billy Cook, for instance, is not. They could change their mind. Oh, and
they could change their mind.
And Gigamosher wants to remind us that Derek Hall, come on down. So we've got Derek Hall in camp as well. And dude, listen, you're right though, in a way. I mean, I know that there's some, I'm laughing, but like if he tears up, that's actually not crazy. If there's a spot that they could clear up to actually put him on the 40-man, it's 1 month. If it doesn't work out, you just let him go.
Yeah.
Right? But you might not do that with somebody that you don't want to just let go. But you telling me Derek Hall or Matt Gorski even couldn't be given a cup of coffee for the month of April and say, we're giving you April to either figure it out or not. And maybe that gives them an opportunity somewhere else. If they even have to, DFA him after that. Like Gorski, you wouldn't have to. He would have major league options. But Derek Hall, I would imagine that's a call up and then a DFA. I would imagine he doesn't have options.
Which one?
Derek Hall.
Derek Hall.
Oh, you're looking it up?
Trying.
I it's probably going to say not available because of the way he was brought in too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think Triolo and Cook probably get the front seat to that. Especially Cook now. I mean, Fam's in spring training. He's going to be there as what it sounds like is the left fielder. And that means that your fourth outfielder is probably going to be left-handed. Or maybe your starting left fielder if they can outplay Fam. The thing about what they say on day one of spring training is that it can change by the way that people play.
Yeah. How many times have we been bit by that bug?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Coming to spring training. Oh, it's so frustrating. It's like, what do you need to do? Because you come into spring training and you're raking and they're like, sweet. We get all excited. Dude looks so good. You go to the regular season and it's just a completely different player.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
What happened? You know what I mean? Like, so sure, you can play your way into a spot, but then you got to keep it.
I see what you're saying.
It's tough sometimes because somebody can look bad. Who knows what we're going to see from Cruz in center field in Bradenton? He might look horrible out there, but it's not necessarily him. Everybody looks horrible in the outfield in Bradenton.
Well, that's true. Yeah, he's not going
to. How do you even judge it?
Yeah.
Pitchers are working on things. Sure, he's hitting off a guy be bagging groceries in 6 weeks. Like, I don't know. It's just tough because we've been bit too many times by by some of that like hype and letdown of spring training.
Yeah. Okay, so who's it going to be?
Playing first base?
Yeah, who gets first base on opening day?
Listen, I kind of like Cook. I don't know. I don't.
So in order for Cook to get it, do you agree? In order for Cook to get it, that means he misses out on that outfield spot. Do you think that?
To start the year, I think.
Because I think if he's the fourth outfielder, he's not the first baseman. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's still going to be whoever's doing the best.
I think I think he's probably going to be our fourth outfielder, but he's going to be our first baseman to start. Our fifth outfielder might be in the major leagues.
So if Sawinski or Palacios come Horwitz coming back, one of those guys goes down.
If they're not playing well, and if they are, like, it's going to be based on which one of them's succeeding and which one of them is not.
Man, I think you should be right, but part of me wonders if that just doesn't happen. Like if Tommy Pham just starts because they think he is, regardless of what happens in spring. You know what I'm saying? Like there's part of me that wonders if that happens. There's also part of me that thinks that you could just go with a platoon in left field of Tommy Pham and Alex Verdugo. Also, I've probably said the word Tommy Pham too many times this episode. Let's move on from that. I'm just going to act like he's not here, okay?
Okay.
Just for a minute. He's not here yet, right? As Rob says, he's still in the boxing gym. He'll be here in a little bit. But this is only pitchers and catchers technically, even though most of camp seems to already be there. It's so funny. This is pitchers and catchers, and the most we get is looking at Keller, Skeens, and Chandler, and we're all excited. But then everything else is Horwitz, Ke'Bryan Hayes, all this stuff. Let's talk about Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Sure.
1 to 5. Let's do that same thing. Where are you at on him?
I'm at a 2 on him.
So you are, there is concern.
Really good place. I mean, a little bit. I mean, his list is. I'll never be a 1 on him, right?
Right.
He actually has a chronic.
Yep.
That, you know what I mean? It's not going away, but he seems to be in a good place. He seems to be doing the right things. He's taking the right steps. He's all in on staying on the field. Does that hurt him though? Does he not accidentally, but does he not say something's going on just because he wants to be playing and then something worse happens? Like
it has?
Like it has. You're right.
Doug Smith says, "Can we not do sad topics?" Here's where I'll hang my hat on this, Doug. The one thing that I heard him say was, well, first off, the laundry list of things. I have a chronic back injury. It's never going away. Like straight up, I will never be okay. You know?
Yeah.
But what he said is it's manageable. I'm doing these things. Even said something about diet in order to help this, right? I'm doing all these things to try to make sure that I'm in the right place. And he said, yes, I'm not 100%. I'll never be 100%. But I feel like I am the way I was at the end of 2023. So if you want some sort of silver lining on that one, the end of 2023, Ke'Bryan Hayes was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He changed his swing a little bit. It's a two-handed finish. I don't think that means there's no power. Bryce Harper has a two-handed finish. He seems to not have an issue with power. But if Key starts twisting like that, we're going to have a problem. But the point is that it doesn't necessarily mean there's no back problem. But he's probably going to get down on the power. And I think he doesn't really have to hit a ton of home runs to be effective if it doesn't hurt to dive. Last year he said it hurt to make a diving catch. And I'm like, bro, that's kind of your thing. You know what I mean? Like that's where you make your money on defense. The offense just needs to be league average and you're worth your salary.
Dude, who cares about home runs at this point? Like just hit doubles. Just hit a gap and jog into second.
Just get on base, Jake. The whole thing comes down to get on base. If you the problem is the Pirates don't have the other guys. But if we can continue to get on base, then things are going to work out this isn't a great offense. Right. But if you can get on base, you can make the best of it. You know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of all the point is that he's where he was at the end of 2023. That's where I'm going to live right now in my head. And then we'll see how it plays out. But that's where I'm going to live in my head instead of I will never be 100%.
I'm gonna hang my hat on the fact that he very well understands his injury.
Yeah, maybe
he's very knowledgeable about what's going on in his back and how to manage it, and that to me is very encouraging.
Doug says if we get 100 good games, let's say healthy games, right? I'll paraphrase that. Out of key, I'd be really happy. I think so too. I don't think we got any last year. That's my opinion. I don't think we got any. And if he's not healthy, if he's not 80%, put Triolo in. So that's all.
Yeah.
Put Triolo in. All right. Any storylines as we it seems like we're probably at a place where we can start wrapping things up here. I don't know exactly what time we got. Oh, I guess we're okay. Yeah, we're getting close. Any storylines here that you're excited about that you want to see? Essentially, like, what do you want us to talk about later? What do you want us to have to talk about on shows during spring training? You know what I mean? What are you following along with?
It's just the guys coming back from injury. Well, I want to start there just because Oviedo looks good. Andy seems to be in good spirits. Moretta seems to be in good spirit. Like, I want to see these guys take their next step towards coming back. I don't know that any of them start the major leagues out of spring training. I feel like they might have some more work to do, some more seasoning to do, other than just spring training. But there's a chance, right?
Moretta's only about 11 months from his surgery, right? So, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say Moretta, we're thinking probably June.
Mm-hmm. Oviedo, we're thinking a little bit later.
A little bit later. We should be okay with Oviedo, right?
I mean, just a little bit, like not opening day.
I don't know. I think he had his in. He missed all of last year, and he had it in the last November or the November after that. He should be good to go. He's well over 12, 13, 14. He's like 15 months after.
They're still going to want to limit his innings and everything. So.
Well, yeah, but that to me, that doesn't mean he's not there. I think there's a path for him to be there opening day.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, but there will be something, right? There will be something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a move to the bullpen at one point when Bubba Chandler starts knocking on the door or something, but you know what I mean? Yeah.
Maybe right out of the gate. But yeah, and then you got Endy. I'm sure they're going to want to get him.
And he started playing games last fall. Like he was
as
in,
a DH,
he was,
right?
He was in Indy. Yeah. No, he caught a game or two, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat here. I thought he actually caught a game or two last year at the end of the summer with Indianapolis. I could be wrong, but I thought he did. But yeah, I mean, there's still things like, you know how it is. I mean, this guy never really hit the ground running to begin with.
Right.
But I think if he goes out to spring training, well, yeah, if he goes out to spring training, and does his thing once again, right arm, left-handed hitter. I know he's a switch hitter. So, but if they focus on, and I think that was the thing last year, he was only hitting left-handed, not right-handed. No, he could be, Doug says Endy may be a good surprise. He might be. I think he has the ability to do everything he needs to do to be there health-wise.
Sure.
So,
I don't know if they want him throwing the ball that much yet, though. That's.
Billy says he caught in Indy, and I think in Altoona too. He started 5 games at catcher, Giga Mosher. 5 games at catcher last summer. So at the end of the year,
I thought he just DH'd for some reason.
So if he's already catching, then Jake, he's fine.
Yeah,
he's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So for me, I guess what I would say now at this point is I want to start hearing stories in a couple weeks about something that Brent Strom said to me. Right? Something that a pitcher saying, well, I've been working with Strom a lot and this, I'm working on this or he's shown me this or, you know what I mean? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or let's talk about an interview with David Bednar where he says, I've been working with Coach Strom on some of the issues I had last year, which we'll all read to say his tipping pitches, right?
Right.
And so, you know what I mean? Like that's going to be big. We got to hear that kind of stuff from Bednar specifically, because we know that was a big issue that he dealt with last year. I'm interested in this. You brought in a guy like this who was one of the key coaching changes that they made. Not as high profile as Matt Haig coming in. And I'd like to see that too. I'd like to see what hitters are saying about Matt Haig, what our plate approaches look like as we go through spring training with Matt Haig, maybe changing some of the different philosophies or whatever that we're using. But all of that's interesting too. I want to see the coaches have some sort of, maybe Danny Vogelback has something to say to somebody, right? Isn't that hilarious that Dan Vogelback is there? Yeah. You remember when we signed him? We had that conversation. Gary was on the show. We talked about if he doesn't hit one in the river, the signing was not worth it. If he hits one in the river, it's fine. He did not hit one in the river. Let's hope that this signing is better. I saw him catching the balls at first when they were taking infield on the video today, and I was like, yeah. A lot of people saying, well, maybe we'll just sign him. I don't think that's happening.
No.
Anyway, I'm excited about Brent Strom and seeing what he brings to the table and what people start talking about with him. If there's things that he can unlock in a pitching staff that's already strong, that is this team's path to having a successful season and maybe playing to whatever the potential of this team is.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. Whether it's 500 or whether it's playing around with a wild card shot. I wouldn't look for much more than that. But if things go well, and this pitching staff has to be the thing to lead them. Of course, we said last year that the pitching staff was terrible. So what do we know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, give us a league average offense this year and we'll be all right.
Matt Haig
with our pitching staff.
Let's just not try to hit home runs with 2 strikes and guys on third with less than 2 outs. You know what I mean? Let's do that. Also, let's see a move, right? Let's see you guys go get Alex Verdugo and put him in left field instead. I don't know. I have no idea. Because I also, at this point, once we hit spring and you start to be optimistic, I'm like, you know what? Maybe Sawinski's the guy.
I'd love to see it, man.
He offers more power potential than Alex Verdugo would, so there's at least that. If that's what you want out of this thing, then you better start rooting for Jack Sawinski to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have, man. You got anything else?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, I have I don't know if I mentioned this. I've got the flight booked, the car, the room. I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go. Our schedule will be off in a couple weeks. 23rd, Sunday the 23rd, and the Thursday after that, 27th, we will not have our normal show times. So we'll figure it out though, and we'll make sure we get that. I'll wait till we come home. Maybe we'll do a Friday morning thing, 28th. Maybe we'll do a Friday morning show. You guys up for that? I think that'd be all right. I think that's the plan right now.
Yeah.
I know I'll still have that day off, so I'm taking the whole week. So no problem there. All right.
It'll be up to mine.
Right. It'll be up to yours. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys. Sorry about the issues early on, but we got it kind of figured out. This isn't enjoyable for Jake, by the way. Little inside baseball. There's still a problem with the video as far as Jake goes. So we'll get that stuff figured out. I don't know what the problem is.
I'm watching Roblox over here.
It's a lot of lag going on. Jake's like, I can't read the room right now. All right, guys. Thank you. Let's go, Bucks.
Let's go, Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!